welcome back to my channel. As promised, I am now recording a video which is going to help you pass your Emirates interview. I joined Emirates 5 years ago, still loving it, still enjoying it, and a lot of people have been asking how does the Emirates interview process go, what are the questions they ask, what are the stages throughout the day, etc, etc. So I'm here to tell you my experience. I'm not saying I hold a secret on how to pass the interview, but I'll definitely point you in the right direction. So what I'm going to cover is the outfits you can wear, the makeup and hair that you can go for, the kind of questions that are going to be asked, the process on how it happens, and the minimum requirements to become Emirates cabin crew. Okay, so let's start with the minimum requirements to become cabin crew. I have my notes here, and I have this lovely notebook. See, I told you I always have nice notebooks. You have to be at least 21 years old by the time you join. You can go to your interview 20, because when I went to my interview, I was 20. Such a baby. I was 20. So yeah, by the time you move to Dubai, you have to be 21. Now you have to have the arm reach. So when I say arm reach, there is a height requirement as well. Minimum height is 160 centimeters, but the arm reach means you have to reach to at least 212 centimeters. You can stand on tiptoes, but you obviously can't be wearing high heels. Your high school graduate must be grade 12, and you must be fluent in English written and spoken. You mustn't have any visible tattoos whilst wearing the Emirates uniform. So for guys, you'll have shirts down to here. The guys you have to be able to cover any tattoos that you have, and your trousers will be to your ankles, so it's pretty much your whole body is covered. So if you have any tattoos here or on your wrists, it's not going to be allowed. Girls, you have to wear a blouse which is probably around about the same length. So if you have tattoos again on your arms, it's not going to be allowed. I actually had a girl who joined with me, bless her, she was so lovely, but she had a tattoo and she tried to hide it, and she kept wearing a watch and she was hiding it well. Then imagine you move all the way, she was from the US I think, and she moved all the way to Dubai. She started the process, she was so excited, and then halfway through the training someone told her to wash her hands, and she took someone told her to wash her hands. No one told her to wash her hands. She was washing her hands, and she took her watch off to wash her hands, and then somebody saw, and then she got caught. So just don't waste your time. It's unfortunate, you know, but maybe you'll get it removed, but yeah, it's not going to be allowed. If you tick all those boxes, you're halfway there. Next, I'm going to talk about how to prepare for your interview. I did have a little look about, you know, the Emirates airline information. You know, I had a browse. I didn't make a lot of notes. I wouldn't say overly study that. Have a look so you have an idea, but I wouldn't say stress about it. You know, don't stress about it. How to prepare. So I would plan your outfit. I would plan what kind of makeup you're going to go for and which hair. I'm talking about girls. Guys is different. Ladies, you can wear something very formal, nothing over the top. Keep it simple. Simple is the best way, I think. You can wear like a smart dress with a little blazer on top. I actually wore a royal blue dress. It was quite bright, but it really suited me. It was like a royal blue dress just over my knees. I wore stockings, and I wore like just simple, I think it was black shoes or cream shoes, I'm not sure, something really simple and elegant. And then I just wore a black blazer over the top. Simple. I actually had my hair up in a bun, but I didn't have it like a low bun. I had it quite high on top of my head, and I kept my makeup really fresh, but professional. You know, it's a glamorous kind of look. And when you think of a flight attendant, you always think of like glamour. You don't see a girl with like hardly any makeup on, like just rolled out of bed. You obviously see a fresh face with fresh makeup. So do make an effort with your makeup. Don't go over the top, but do make an effort. Guys, you can wear like a smart shirt. I would wear, you know, a blazer, a tie, everything if I was a guy. Smart trousers, smart shirt, and a blazer, something simple. Make sure you have nice shoes, because men, we always look at the man's shoes to see what kind of person he is. Yeah, sorry, the shoes give a lot away about a person. Something like this will be suitable. Like this, or this, or this. Ladies, you can have your hair something like this, simple but elegant. What I would say is the assessment day, the open day, it can sometimes turn into assessment day. That's what happened with me. I went to an open day. They invited me to an open day. Yeah, they invited me to an open day. There were over like 150 people there, and that then turned into an assessment day. So on the open day, what happens is you'll all go into a big room. And what I will say is, sorry, I'm like jumping. What I will say is, when you're waiting outside the waiting rooms, you know, like the meeting rooms or whatever, you'll be with other people who are going for the job. And you know, I was looking at people and starting to panic a little bit, like maybe they were crew before, maybe they know more than me. But one thing I'll say is try to mingle, try to break the ice, because when you break the ice with anybody, when you're feeling uptight, it's so much easier. You feel so much better. Like when I was there, I met a few people and I just started talking to them. I was shy, I was so shy, but I just wanted to break the ice and feel a little bit more comfortable too. If you have someone to talk to throughout the day, it's so much easier. Also, don't be standing on your phone, don't be chewing gum, don't be showing laziness, because if I'm a recruiter, those things, when I'm walking past, I would personally pick up on them. You know, if I see someone not really engaged and not really interested, just glued to their phone, whatever, fair enough if you're referring to some questions that you want to look at before you're going into the next session. I understand, I totally appreciate that, but try to mingle, try to be aware of your surroundings. Don't just glue yourself to your phone, you know, and don't be chewing gum, because that's not professional, it doesn't look nice. And that's something I would look at if I saw someone with their hands in their pocket chewing gum, not really not really making an effort. It's not just about going into the interview and putting on a show. You really have to be professional when you're in the public eye, because when you're cabin crew, it's all well and good me being polite to my customers and having a smile, but if I'm walking through the airport with chewing gum and dragging my shoes or my hands in my pockets, you know, it says a lot about a person. So yeah, just be mindful of those things. Okay, so step one will be, you'll go into the auditorium or room or meeting room, whatever it is, and you will have a point where you'll drop off your CV, your resume, and you'll drop off a passport photo and a full-length photo. It might have changed, maybe they only need the passport photo now, but just have everything prepared anyway. It's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. So have your CV ready, attach your photo. Maybe they don't even ask for a photo. No, they will ask for a photo. Yeah. Have your photo ready, have your passport, your full-length photo ready. Now when I say full-length photo, don't go over the top. It's just a smart attire. Girls, maybe a little dress, fitted, nice black dress, navy dress, something like that, with stockings and tights. Stockings and shoes. And maybe I would suggest putting your hair back. I wouldn't go for the glamorous, you know, like all hair down, because that's not what flight attendants look like. So maybe you can put your hair in a ponytail, put your hair in a nice bun, something professional, have a picture taken, and that's what you can submit. The passport photo, again, I would go for a fresh face, hair back again, I would say, and yeah, submit that as well. So you'll drop off your resume, your CV, whatever you guys call it, and your passport photo, and somebody will be going through those very quickly. In the meantime, you'll be sitting and the recruiters will show you a video on the joining process, the expectations of you, etc, etc. A little bit about Emirates, just to give you an overall summary. Then they'll ask for questions. Does anybody have any questions? This is what happened with me. A lot of people were so eager. Don't get me wrong, I was so eager, but very quietly. I didn't want to try to stand out too much. I didn't want to, you know, like some people were craving attention, and people pick up on that, you know, like every question, somebody was always having every chance to ask a question, there was always the same people really desperate to ask the question and had a lot to say for themselves. And I noticed, this might not be true, but personally I noticed when they were cutting people throughout the day, it was those kinds of people they were cutting, because I was confident, but I was quietly confident, and I was people watching throughout the day. I was just watching everybody, and I was thinking if I was like a recruiter, they'd be gone, they'd be gone, they'd be gone, without sounding cocky, but it's true. I just noticed someone, you know, like they wanted the attention too much. So just don't go over the top, you know, you don't need to stand out, just be yourself. If you do genuinely have a question, ask the question. I'm not saying don't ask, but don't be trying too hard to get noticed. Does that make sense? Then once they've done the introduction to Emirates, the brief summary, what they'll do is they'll cut people. Now, it might change because it's been 5 years since I got hired. But on my day, they cut people straight after we handed the resumes and we watched the video and we had the questions and the answer session and all that kind of stuff. After that session, they give us a little piece of paper, folded over, and it says underneath there if you passed or if you've been asked to leave. So of course I passed, I was so happy, and then they give you maybe another 20 minutes and then you come back for the next session. So a lot of people were unhappy, of course. What I will say is, I mentioned earlier about the outfits, but a lot of people came not wearing the right outfits. Be really mindful. You're going for a job which is a professional image. It's a lot about how you look. Be mindful and be careful, because I saw some girls with very short skirts. They looked lovely, they looked very glamorous, but they had really short skirts on and showing lots of leg, and you know, they looked lovely, but not for a job interview. And bearing in mind, you are going to live in Dubai and you are going to live in a Muslim country, so you know, have a little bit of respect and maybe wear something more professional. And I saw another guy wearing jeans. The top half looked lovely, he had a shirt and a tie and a blazer, but jeans, no, don't wear jeans. Wear something smart. Yeah, just something professional, because those people got asked to leave, of course. I mean, come on, you go into a job interview. The next step, if I remember correctly, was a group activity. So you got put into groups at random, I presume, and they give you a scenario. So our scenario was something like 6 different customers were trying to get to the airport, and which what was it? Oh yeah, that's it. The question, gosh, I have a good memory. Our question was, you're a rental company, and you only have 1 car left, yet 6 of the customers have requested to use the car. So you only have 1 customer you can only choose 1 customer out of 6 potential customers, but they're all there at the same time, and they all have different reasons why they need to get to the airport. So one lady, maybe she was pregnant and she had to get to the other country because that's where she's going to give birth. The second one was a famous person and they had a gig to get to. The third one was a businessman who's a returning customer to you, yet he has a meeting he needs to go. It was all scenarios like that. They all had a reason, and a very good reason. So it wasn't so much of choosing the right answer. There was no right answer really. It was all about how you communicate in the group. Of course they're watching you, they're listening to what you're saying, they're listening if you listen to other people or if you just talk over them and dismiss everything they're saying. Do you ask questions? Do you ask your colleagues what they think? Because this happens a lot on board. You know, we have a circumstance where maybe I don't know personally how to deal with it, and I'll share that information with somebody else and maybe they'll have the answer, you know. And everybody has a valid opinion, and you need to make sure you listen to everybody. Because I had a prime example. Of course I knew that there was no right answer, and of course I knew that it's all about how you behave. And you know, one lady, she was controlling the whole group, which is fine. There's usually a leader and some other people are following, you know. So I was a little bit quiet at the beginning. You have to talk as well. Like, you can't just sit there and just sit there. You have to engage, of course. So I waited until everybody had said a little bit, and then I said, you know, guys, I think all of them are equally important, but we had 15 minutes to come to a decision as a group as to which customer we're going to choose. So, you know, I shared my little bit of opinion and I let other people talk, and then we all kind of came to a decision to one customer that we were going to choose. So this was like 3 minutes before wrapping up, and the guy sitting next to me, God bless him, he said, oh, I disagree with everybody actually. And we were like, oh, okay, so, you know, what's your... We're trying to be polite as well, because we're also being watched. So we were like, you know, what's your reason? He gave his reason, and we were saying, okay, that's, you know, that is a reasonable answer as to why you don't want to choose that customer. However, the majority of us have chosen this person. Is there a reason why you wouldn't choose that person? And his attitude was very bad, and he was like, I don't care, you know, this is something I really, really think is right. And we were all looking around like, you know, like the recruiter was like, she was with a pen and paper behind him, and I just remember her being like, okay. So yeah, of course that's not the right way to go about it. And then he wouldn't change his mind. He wouldn't change his mind. And I was timekeeping. I was watching the 15 minutes go down, 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 down. And I was the one who said, guys, we have 2 minutes to make the decision. So let's discuss what's going to happen very quickly. Then we had to make a decision, and we had to make the decision. So we all had to come to his side. Of course we didn't agree, but we had to, because the task was you have to make a decision as a group by 15 minutes. That was the task. So anyways, it came to the end, and of course, like, maybe I think there was 6 people in a group, and I think 4 of us got through and 2 of us didn't. And it was the one, of course, the guy who was sitting next to me saying, oh, I'm not agreeing with you, I'm not changing my mind, la 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 la. Of course he left, and he was so annoyed. Oh, I remember him like it was yesterday. So he got asked to leave. So when it comes to those group activities, group task, it's not about the decision you make. It's about how you interact. Listen to your colleagues, empathize with the scenario that's going on. Give your opinion. Don't take over the whole group if you can help it. Try to listen and participate at the same time. It's a balance of all of that. And hopefully you won't have the person like I had next to me, because it kind of made it a little bit more difficult, but it showed that we were able to compromise and go with him. After the group interview, they give us another slip of paper, and we folded it over. Actually, before the group interview, just before, they made us do the reach test, which I explained earlier. So you have to reach 212 centimeters without shoes, but you can stand on your tiptoes. And of course, there were people who were shorter, actually, even though they should have known before coming. They were shorter, and they got asked to leave as well. So don't waste your time. If you can't reach 212 centimeters, don't come. Because you don't want to waste your time, and you don't want to waste the recruiter's time as well, you know. You'll be disappointed, because there is no way of getting around it. They will ask you to do it one by one. Also, what happened in the group activity was we got given, as far as I remember, we got given a card. There were like 6 cards, 6 people, 6 cards, and each of us had to choose a card. I think maybe in pairs or individually, I can't remember. And maybe the card was something about Paris, or something about, I think it was different locations, and you had to talk about that card. So I think I got Paris. I think that's why I said it. I don't know an awful lot about Paris, but I just winged it, you know. I just went into a little bit of detail of how you can get there, how you get there from Europe. You can use the Euro tunnel, if that's what it's called. Is it? Yeah. And how you can get there from other countries, what language they speak, what kinds of food they eat. It's a romantic city, what kinds of people it attracts, the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, everything I just give. As long as you speak with confidence, it's not so much what you say, it's how, if you speak with confidence and you fill that time. Don't stand there going, whatever you're gonna say, drag it out and just make it happen. If your mother tongue is not English, you will be asked to do an English test, a writing test. I think it's a writing test, yes. And you will have to pass. Now, I'm not saying your grammar has to be 100% or the words have to be perfectly written, but you know, you have to show good knowledge of your English. I fly with crew who are not 100%. Of course they're not. They speak maybe 4 other languages. I only speak 1. You know, it's a bit embarrassing, but yeah, just don't worry about it. Like, some people were like, oh my gosh, my English is not 100%, you know, accurate. Don't worry, that's fine, you know. As long as your understanding is good, to a good level, I'm sure you'll be fine. Just be confident. Another point I'll add is know what you're applying for. I was 20, like I say, when I went to my interview, and I was 21 when I came to Dubai. It's not easy. You're moving away from your other country. Don't get me wrong, when I was 18 I lived on my own, so I'm kind of used to being on my own, even though I lived in the UK 20 minutes from my mum down the road, but still I was on my own, and I had to you know, I was used to dealing with that. So when you come to Dubai, know that you're not going to get all the time off that you want to go and see your family. You're not going to be able to go home for Christmas all of the time, all of the years. You're not going to be able to go to that holiday to, I don't know, France with your family or France with your friends that you might have planned, you know. I'm not saying always, but in a lot of cases you're going to miss those things. It's all part of the parcel, and just know that, because I know a lot of people, they come, you'll never know how you're going to be when you move to a foreign country. It's not easy, like I say, but have that in mind, because a lot of people, Emirates flies the person out, they train them, they pay for the tickets on the flight, they put them in accommodation, they give you the uniform, la 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 la, and then at the end the person says, you know what, this is not for me. Which is fine, it's fine. Sometimes it takes that long to realize something is not for you. but a lot of people, I think they don't anticipate how it's going to be, and imagine the kind of money the company's losing. Imagine, from flying one person who decides they want to leave at the end, and then they have to fly that person home. It's a risk. So hiring you is a risk for the company, so make sure you know what you're getting in for. They think, oh, I want to fly to this country and this country, which is, of course, that's what it is, but they're not realistic when it comes to the other things as well. So just have that in mind and know what you're applying for to the best that you can. Okay? Now, when it came to the final interview, as far as I remember, 14 of us got to the final interview out of like 150 something. So that was nerve-wracking, and then we had to wait individually, and each interview was taking maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So yeah, that was kind of nerve-wracking. I was sitting there reading over my notes, and don't get me wrong, when I prepared for the interview, I really prepared for my questions and answers. I went through all of the cabin crew questions and answers that you can look for. I made my answers to the best that I could, and a lot of times, you know, maybe they asked me a few questions that I didn't have prepared, but the answers I had from other questions I could, you know, mold into to answer that question, if that makes any sense. So try to prepare, you know, like there's nothing wrong with having answers prepared, having ideas prepared, and then you'll be able to answer with confidence. I was very nervous when I went to my final interview. I wanted it, like I was there to get the job. I was so passionate about it. I was like, there is no other way. I'm not going to go. I refuse. I'm going to get this job. So I was very nervous. I remember I was like swallowing, like, oh, and everybody could hear, like the recruiters could hear me in the room. Oh, it was so embarrassing. And then one question I got, I had to say, you know, just give me a moment, because I didn't have an answer. I had to kind of rack my brains under pressure. Some of the questions that I got asked, as far as I remember, was, okay, so tell me about a time that you dealt with a customer complaint. That's pretty easy if you worked in customer service. Another question I got asked was, tell me about a time that you delivered customer service beyond expectation. So, you know, I spoke to a guy who actually gave me a lovely answer for this. He told me, I remember he's a crew now, but he told me how, when he got this question, what he said. He used to work for a company, I don't know, dealing with some sort of customers. And they had a very important customer come back, and he asked for a tea. Now this guy, bless him, he said, okay, but they didn't have any tea. I don't know what happened, but they didn't have tea bags where they were. So the guy said, okay, no problem. And one of his other colleagues was dealing with a customer, and he said, I'm going to go and I'm going to find tea. So he left the workplace, he went to the local supermarket or the store, you know, the convenience store. He went and he wanted to get tea. Now when he got there, he said they had like 12 different tea bags. And he was like, oh, now what? So he said he took all of the tea bags. He bought them all. He bought like one of each, or maybe two of each. I don't remember what he said. He took one of each, let's say, and he bought them all. And the person at the desk was like, are you sure you need all of these? And he was like, I don't know which type I need, so I'm going to take them all. And then he took all of them and he brought them back to the workplace, and the customer was like super happy, you know, just at the efforts that the person went to, because he didn't know what tea, he didn't ask what tea the person wanted, so he just got them all. And the customer was apparently like really impressed, and they were almost laughed about it because he just had all of these like 12 different teas to offer to the customer. But yeah, that's going beyond expectation, because no one expects you personally to run to the store and get the tea, and especially get all of the tea bags because you didn't know which one that customer wanted. I mean, that's pretty nice. Another question I got asked was, give me a time that you dealt, because I used to manage a team in the UK in a sales company. So I managed a team of 8 people, and the question was, maybe it was because of the knowledge they had that I did manage a team. Maybe you won't get asked this question if you didn't have a management position, but I managed a team, and they asked me, tell me about a time that you dealt with a conflict between 2 colleagues. So I remember there was an argument between 2 colleagues on my team, so I just said, you know, I separated them. The difference with my old job is we weren't in front of customers physically, so it was much easier to deal with colleagues who were arguing, you know. But in Emirates, if there's 2 crew arguing, of course the first thing you do is you remove them from the situation. You know, if there's 2 crew arguing in the cabin, for example, God forbid, you take them away. You don't want customers seeing that situation. Of course, it's very unprofessional. Sometimes it happens. I mean, I've never seen it personally in the cabin arguing, but it can happen. We're all human at the end of the day. So, of course, it is something, you would say something along the lines of, you know, I would remove them from the situation, I would separate them. You don't want the argument to continue. So then, I may be wrong, I may be right on this. This is my personal opinion. People might disagree with me, but personally what I would do, I would separate them. I would then maybe give a glass of water to one, give me a glass of water to the other, and then I wouldn't judge the situation. I wouldn't say much. I would say, okay, tell me what happened, and I would listen to one, and I wouldn't interrupt, and I wouldn't get annoyed, and I would stay very calm. So I would say, listen to one, listen to what they're saying, okay, deal with that person first of all. Then I would go and listen to the other, what happened, la 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 la, and then we tried to solve the situation, whatever the situation might be. But I would try to avoid those people working together. So if it happened to me in work, I would take those people apart, I would listen to one, listen to the other, and I would keep them separate. So for example, we have 2 aisles in the cabin, so I would keep one working on one aisle and one working on the other, so they're separated, and then we'll deal with it later. But you know, the most important thing is you keep it away from the customers. You don't want the customers to hear what's going on, of course. Then you want to calm the individual down. You don't want them working when they're really riled up. Tell me about a time that you broke the rules, or you bent the rules. Maybe bent the rules, I think I got asked, in a workplace. Of course, there are so many times in work, and don't tell them that you never bent the rules, because 99.9% of the time you'll be lying if you said that. Of course we bend the rules. We bend the rules all of the time, probably without even realizing. So be honest, because I know a lot of people, they came out of that, they got asked the same question, they came out and they said, oh, I've said I've never bent the rules, I've never broken the rules in work. Come on, of course you've bent the rules. You know, you might have taken an extra 10 minutes on your break for whatever reason. So yeah, just be honest when it comes to bending the rules, because come on, we bend the rules. We bend the rules. Another question I got asked is, tell me about a time that you made a mistake at work. We make mistakes all of the time. Please don't say that you've never made a mistake, because you're perfect. As much as some people like to think they're perfect, we make mistakes. So give an example of a time that you made a mistake. You know, the most important thing is how you rectified it, and if you shared that with your manager, or for us, the cabin supervisor. If I make a mistake in the cabin and I know I've made a mistake, of course I'll rectify it, but I'll tell my cabin supervisor of that mistake, and maybe I need help. Maybe they have a better suggestion on how I can deal with that mistake that I made, you know? So it's about how you deal with it, and if you share that information with the people that need to know about it. Take your time when answering the questions. It's not a marathon. You know, there's the question that I got asked, I didn't know what to say, so I said, if you don't mind, just give me a moment and I'll just think about the answer. And that's what I did. And then I thought about the answer and it was pretty good. So yeah, just be confident, be excited, be all of those things. You'll be nervous, that's fine. Everybody's nervous, most people anyway. Some people are overconfident and then they mess it up. But just, you know, go for it. Go for it, be yourself, and enjoy. Because when you become cabin crew, and being positive, when you become Emirates cabin crew, you'll remember that day probably forever. Yeah, and I remember walking in and seeing the Emirates crew on the video, and I was just like, oh, that's what I want, you know, like that's what I want. Guys, I really hope this helped with your Emirates interview. I'm so excited because I remember how excited I was going to my interview and nervous and all those things at the same time, but I really hope I helped. If you have other questions, please comment down below. I do get back to as many people as I can. Actually, I try to reply to everybody. If you like this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up. Please watch out for my next video. If there's any requests that you have, any suggestions, again, comment down below and I'll be happy to fulfill them for you if enough people ask for the same thing. Right on there, just taking a selfie. I don't know what of. I mean, he's taking a selfie of himself, but there's nothing behind him really interesting except the building. Thank you for watching, and I see you again soon. Bye!